Hello, thanks for tuning in. I'm Micah Shaw.
And I'm Jordan Whitrock.
Welcome to today's episode of The Sponge. Now, before we get started, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor, Anchor.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. It's free. There's creation tools that will allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Also, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Thank you.
Back to the episode. We'll kick today off with Election Day in Wisconsin.
Although in some regions there are smaller council elections, the main election for today would be the state Supreme Court race. This race has three runners: Republican Daniel Kelly, Democrat Jill Krofsky, and Marquette Law School professor Ed Fallon. Some believe that most of the college population is leaning towards Democrats these days. Republicans add an extra step in their voting process to sway them not to go to polls. When you are in college, you must get a voting license from the college which you are attending, not your normal license, which has your family address on it. You need your college number. To be able to vote, you must apply for a voting ID, which takes time, although it is free. I believe that if there is truth to this, which I would find hard to believe, it is very important for everyone to vote. Not voting because you don't know who a candidate is a weak argument. It could be as simple as reading a source or two from each side to get an understanding of the candidates. Because this is only the primary election, there will be another voting time later this year for the final decision in the future Supreme Court Judge of Wisconsin. Now, moving on to our entertainment segment.
The movie The Boy 2 hits theaters this Thursday around the 20th around America. This film is rated PG-13 and is about a young family that moves to the Hillshire residence. Terror strikes when a boy from the family discovers a doll called Brams that appears to be eerily human. This film is under the genres horror, mystery, and thriller. So, Jordan, how do you feel about horror films and or the idea of pedestals?
Honestly, I couldn't care for them. I'm not one to love horror films. I do love a good thriller, though, but I definitely feel like this one is definitely going to surpass the scaring factor for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree. This film should be good, and I'm looking forward to see it this Thursday.
Yeah, also there was another one created. The first one came out in 2016, so it'll be interesting to see how they incorporate that story plot to this one, because they are very different from each other.
I agree with that. Make sure to, if you go and see the film, follow us on Twitter at TheSponge, one word, capital T, capital S, and let us know how you feel about it. All right, and next to our, national news story. Due to the coronavirus outbreak and the spread of the disease in China, production plants like Foxconn and Apple product producers have had to close down temporarily. With these closures and delays, Apple has suffer loss of over $4 billion due to the outbreak, the spread of which has put strain on Foxconn production centers, and due to the state of emergency, Apple has also closed its stores in China. And next to some sports news.
So, for NBA lovers, this weekend was an awesome weekend. With the NBA All-Star Games, there were multiple contests, from the slam dunk contest, three-point contest, and the skills contest, which was nothing short of excitement. For the slam dunk contest, the All-Stars weekend premiere event closed the night with an absolute classic of performance. Aaron Gordon and Derek Jones Jr. tied after both the finals and the tiebreaker round, sending the event into a virtual double overtime. Finally, despite Gordon dunking over 7-5 Taco Fall, Jones was declared the event's winner. For the three-point contest, Davis Bertans, Devin Booker, and Buddy Hield reached the final round, which included one of the most exciting finishes in this contest's history. Booker put a strong score of 26 up on the board in his final run through the course, but Hield matched him shot for shot. With one of the contests on the line, Hield made 4 of his 5 attempts from the money rack, including his final shot, which pushed the score up to 27. Buddy Hield came away with a jaw-dropping finish, taking the win. For the skill contest, the contest takes players in a race to finish the course, ending on a three-point shot. The bracket pits guards up against big men, and surprisingly, the big man won all 4 round matchups. The finals were a battle between the two big men of Bam Adebayo and Domantas Sabonis. Bam Adebayo ended up winning this contest, finishing strong in his three-point shooting. The Rising Stars game showed to be exciting for those who appreciate more offensive play than defensive play, tallying a 151-131 victory for Team USA. Miles Bridge won the Rising Star MVP. With a change in the way the All-Star game was played this weekend due to Chris Paul, the audience was captivated by the competitiveness shown by the players coming down to the final stretch, with Anthony Davis hitting the game-winning free throw to win. All of the players agreed that this new setup for the All-Star game was a success. With hitting 8 three-pointers, Kawhi Leonard won the first ever Kobe MVP All-Star trophy. So Micah, do you think the players played extra hard with the recent death of Kobe?
I think there was definitely some extra motivation out there for the players. Kobe was a very influential person in the basketball world. I feel like the players really wanted to, show the people that as like a tribute that they could play out their hearts and really show them what they had.
I agree with you. Because the MVP trophy was recently named the Kobe MVP trophy for the All-Star game, a lot of players had that on their sites, I know, to be the first one to win that award. And like Micah said, Kobe was an influential person throughout the NBA society, but also in the Los Angeles area, he made a really big impact, which is probably why it's been so tough for that area to get over his recent death.
All right, and now to our question of the day. Do we as a country hold too many elections?
I do think as a country we do hold many elections, and I think that might also be why the turnout for the younger generation may be lower, as they feel local elections aren't as important as like the big presidential elections. As we can see in like data, more turnouts for votes come with the presidential election rather than like local mayor positions. And I think that has to do with just the fact that the mayor positions tend to be more frequently, or if not frequently, they seem to hold less power.
Although, as we've seen in the last presidential election between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, there was a large percentage of young voters that came out for that. And I believe that was because it was such of a election of importance, like you had said, that those elections, they do get the attention, but the smaller elections like city council or county positions really just don't get as much importance, which I feel people tend to, not be as involved. So in that case, like, if the elections were more condensed, do you think there would be more of a turnout?
I think honestly it would, because it would be more of like a special day or like an occasion. And I know in like some countries like Australia, they fine people for not going to the polls and voting. And so I'm not saying we should go to that extent, but I feel like as a nation, we should maybe put more importance on the younger population, saying that it is important to vote. And maybe that might be creating less options of voting, meaning less running.
And it can definitely feel like your vote will not count, because the way for instance, our presidential elections work with the Electoral College, your vote can seem like it doesn't count, but it still does. In retrospect, you go to the poll, let's say everyone were to go to the poll and vote, the vote could definitely drastically change by the amount of people that we'd get to the polls. So I think a condensed election where we hold more elections on the same day could really have a greater effect on a greater turnout of voters.
Yeah, so I think we just need to, again, stress the importance of voting, because it can make a change, even though you might find in the smallest way it's not. And I don't see a change coming where we're going to lessen the amount of times there's going to be a polling station for votes, but I think it's still important to make it to every single one, because it is your right again.
And for our closing topic, on this day in history, February 18th.
On February 18th, 1885, Mark Twain published his famous and famously controversial novel, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn.
Also on February 18th, 1930, Pluto was first discovered by 23-year-old astronomer Clyde Tombaugh in Flagstaff, Arizona.
In 1954, on February 18th, the first church of Scientology was opened.
And in 1978, the first Ironman triathlon was held in Hawaii.
So this concludes our third episode of The Sponge.
We're on Spotify now, so find us under the same name, The Sponge, capital T, capital S.
Thanks for tuning in.
See you next time.